This is Piero Venturi, EU Science Counselor to the African Union, who is welcoming you to this event. This event that is organized by the European Commission, Directorate-General Research and Innovation, the EU delegation to Kenya, the EU delegation to the African Union, and the platform Euraxess Africa. Why we are organizing this event? Because in December, the European Commission published the work program 2023-24 of Horizon Europe. This is the research and innovation program of the European Commission that is offering huge opportunities for participation of African partners. This is through a package called Africa Initiative 2 that include more than 30 topics with a total budget of around 300 million euros. So this is an opportunity for the Kenyan stakeholders, the Kenyan scientists, the Kenyan innovators to know more about this opportunity and to get involved. Our program is extremely intense. Today we will have opening remarks from our political masters that will give us the strategy, what is behind this calls. Then we will hear about Kenyan initiatives that are implemented at present on research and innovation. Then there will be the presentation on Horizon Europe and Africa Initiative 2, followed by more information about the platform Euraxess Africa. Furthermore, we will have the Kenyan scientists talk, learning from experience. What is the experience of Kenyan scientists being involved in this program? What is their opinion? And this will be followed by a broad slot with questions and answers. Finally, the conclusions. So without other words, I'm very happy to open the opening remark session, giving the floor to Director Maria Cristina Russo, Director-General for Research and Innovation, European Commission. Director Russo, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Piero. Thanks for this wonderful introduction to what seems is going to be a wonderful day. And good morning to everybody. Good morning to everybody in Kenya. I was told that we are more than 1,400 people connected. And this is really great news for us, because in fact, the aim of this webinar is really to let you know the opportunities for enhanced research and innovation cooperation stemming from the research and innovation framework program of the European Union, Horizon Europe, and in particular from the Africa Initiative 2. Let me also welcome very warmly the participation of the Kenyan authorities, in particular of the Principal Secretary, Mrs. Beatrice Inyagala, and also of my dear friend and colleague, the head of the EU delegation in Kenya, Mrs. Henriette Geiger. I'm really very happy, as Piero said, to give you the political context which is behind these initiatives that we have put in place. And let me say also that I'm very happy to be here virtually with you, because my virtual presence follows my physical presence in Nairobi, where I've been in November. I was in Nairobi for the stakeholder event on the African Union, European Union Innovation Agenda, about which you will hear later on. A fantastic event that we organized at the end of November. And in this occasion, I also had the chance to meet with the Education Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Ezekiel Makugu. I visited a local university. I met a lot of you, a lot of the Kenyan researchers and innovators, and I really got the feeling that there is a huge potential in order to enhance our cooperation under the EU Research and Innovation Program, Horizon Europe. Now, of course, we all know that research and innovation are indispensable tools to provide solutions to global challenges. And cooperation is key in order to turn such global challenges into mutual gains. For us, the cooperation with the African continent and with Kenya is key. This Commission, the European Commission, has adopted a comprehensive strategy through which it wants to enhance cooperation with Africa. It wants to enhance cooperation with Africa in a situation of partnership and mutual ownership. And within this strategy, research and innovation has a very important place, has a very important role to play in order to strengthen the cooperation, to build building blocks on concrete projects carried out together, and especially on in a situation of mutual ownership. This is also very important in light of our strategy for international cooperation in research and innovation, the global approach to research and innovation, which in fact is the policy that is behind the Horizon Europe framework program as far as international cooperation is concerned. And with the global approach, we want to enhance cooperation with strategic partners at international level. And Africa is a strategic continent, as I mentioned, and Kenya is a strategic partner. We do believe that there is a lot of potential that we still need to tap. We want to do that. Hence, we are doing this seminar also to present the opportunities. Let me briefly say that we already had some successful projects under the Partnership for Research and Innovation Cooperation. For example, I would like to highlight the Energy Village concept, which is a long-term program for achieving renewable energy self-sufficiency at the local level. This program takes place in Kenya, in Ethiopia, Uganda, and Botswana, and aims to bring small primary rural regions to a state of 100% renewable energy self-sufficiency. This is just an example of several projects that we have undertaken, notably through the African Union and European Union high-level policy dialogue, which has been developed during the last years and focused on 4 priorities areas, which relate to public health, green transition, innovation and technology, and capacities for societies. No need for me to underline how those areas are important for our continents and how we can advance in those areas through research and innovation. I would like to say that the importance of those areas of cooperation has been endorsed by our ministers, the EU and the African Union ministers for research and innovation in a ministerial meeting that took place in June last year. And following this meeting, we have launched a first Africa call in the previous research and innovation work program. In fact, sorry, I make a correction. This ministerial meeting took place in June 2020, not last year, and hence we launched last year the first call, the first Africa initiative, which gathered a budget of 350 million euros with 40 topics for relevant cooperation with Africa. Under this initiative, we have contracted a total of 75 projects with the participation of 184 African entities. Let me underline that under this Africa One initiative, Kenya participates with 43 projects. So this is already a very good success, but we want to do more. This is why with the second work program of Horizon Europe, which has been adopted in December, as Piero Venturi just said, we have launched a second Africa initiative, which will be presented in details later on by my colleagues. Under this second Africa initiative, we have bundled a list of a series of topics gathering around 300 million euros, which are available to support cooperation in research and innovation in these 4 areas that I mentioned earlier on, and are fully open to the participation of Kenyan researchers and innovators. I will not be longer because I have the task to give some introductory words and my colleagues will get in more details later on. But just what I want to say is that we have a strong political willingness to enhance and deepen our cooperation with Kenya on research and innovation. We have the tools, and I hope that with this seminar, we will give you a lot of information and especially the wish to deepen the cooperation with the European researchers and innovators, fully tapping the possibilities that are on the table. Let me wish you a very good day. Let me thank Euraxess, the EU delegation in Kenya, and my own team for organizing such an impressive meeting. Thank you very much and have a nice continuation.
Thanks a lot, Christina, for your inspiring words. Now I'm very glad to give the floor to Dr. Beatrix Inyangala, that is the Principal Secretary, State Department for Higher Education and Research. Please, Dr. Inyangala, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. My Cabinet Secretary is very much with us, ably represented by myself, Dr. Beatrice Muganda Inyangala, the Principal Secretary for Higher Education and Research, and I will read his speech. Ms. Christina Russo, Directorate-General for Research and Innovation, European Commission, Ms. Henriette Gelka, Head of Delegation, EU Delegation to Kenya, Mr. Antonio Marquez Comacho, Policy Officer Desk, Africa Directorate-General for Research and Innovation, European Commission, Mr. Ahmed Malet, Euraxess Africa, all distinguished workshop participants from Kenyan universities and research organizations and government ministries, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning from Kenya. First, I'd like to welcome all foreign speakers to this virtual event. I am delighted by your presence in this Horizon Europe African Initiative 2 virtual events organized by the European Commission, the Kenya European Union Delegation, the Ministry of Education, the National Research Fund, and National Commission for Science, Technology and Innovation, NACOSTI, Kenya. Further, on behalf of the Ministry, I wish to acknowledge the support the European Commission has given to Kenya all along, and I do this with much gratitude. To be more specific, the Ministry initiated a robust collaboration with the EU, mainly through the Framework 7, FP7 program, and this has been on since the year 2008, Horizon 2020, and the current Horizon Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now globally recognized that research, science, and technology cooperation is very vital for the following reasons: meeting the globalization challenge by boosting innovation, creativity, and competitiveness throughout the economy. It is also important for delivering cutting-edge science in all scientific and technological areas to solve societal challenges, and in this way, improve the quality of life and enhance socioeconomic development. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to briefly highlight the latest developments on the Europe-Africa cooperation in science and technology, specifically with respect to global competitiveness and collaborative activities. For the intercontinental economic development to take place, the above two issues must be addressed strategically. This justifies the need for constant policy dialogues and bi-regional cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, the different cooperation levels and forums between Africa and Europe are structured around consecutive multi-annual programs, popularly known as framework programs. The current program is known as Horizon Europe and is fully open to international cooperation. In that respect, Kenya has been involved in European Union science and technology cooperation under two levels. First, as a ministry responsible for higher education, science, and technology, we have been involved in 7 projects funded by the European Commission, and for this, we are grateful. Secondly, Kenyan scientists have to date participated in various projects under the framework programs. Ladies and gentlemen, it is good to recognize that Kenya has a relatively developed research ecosystem and a high rate of success and participation in EU framework programs for research and innovation, which has increased from Horizon 2020 to Horizon Europe. Under the Horizon 2020, Kenya was 14th in participation and 5th in budget share among third world countries. It is worth noting that most institutions in Kenya participated in the following key priority areas. The first one was food security, sustainable agriculture and forestry, marine and maritime and inland water research, and the bioeconomy. And secondly, climate action, environment, resource efficiency, and raw materials. The above priority areas anchor well with the government's development priorities. Ladies and gentlemen, under the Horizon Europe, Kenya is now in 9th position in participation and 4th in budget attraction, net EU contribution among third countries. Kenya has most participations in Horizon Europe in food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture and environment, with 18 participations, as well as climate, energy, mobility with 7 participations. Overall, the success rate of eligible applicants from Kenya is 21.1%, which is practically all at the level of the EU average of 21.24%. So Kenya, we're doing well. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya has the potential to increase further its participation in Horizon Europe and the New Africa Initiative 2 under the 2023-2024 work program presents an opportunity for Kenya to create impact. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my sincere hope that the outcome of this workshop will be a major instrument to accelerate the implementation of the Horizon Europe international cooperation aspect. To be more specific, it is our expectation that the outcome of this virtual event will result to increased participation of Kenyan higher education institutions and research institutes in the Horizon Europe. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude my remarks, allow me to reiterate the strong political support that comes from both Africa and Europe on the importance and urgency that through cooperation, investment, and the utilization of science and technology, Kenya can and indeed will address societal challenges that the country is facing. The Ministry of Education will give maximum support to the follow-up on these outcomes and recommendations of this Horizon Europe African Initiative 2 virtual event. I thank you. I read this on behalf of Honorable Ezekiel Machogu, our Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Education. Thank you.
Many thanks, Dr. Inyangala, for reminding the importance of our cooperation and the strength of the Kenyan R&I environment. I give now the floor to the Ambassador Henriette Geiger, Head of Delegation, the EU Delegation to Kenya. I hope the Ambassador is connected. Well, maybe the Ambassador is not connected or there are some technical problems. So I propose that we go ahead with the speakers, and then when the Ambassador will get a connection, she will give her opening remarks. So that said, I would like to invite Mr. Kamvaria Jagi, Deputy Director, Resources Mobilization and Partnership, National Research Fund, Horizon Europe NCP of the Ministry of Education. Please, Kamvaria, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, everyone, and good morning. I will give a very short presentation just to highlight what we have done as a country, just as a follow-up to what our Principal Secretary has just mentioned. And I would say that Kenya research and innovation expenditure per capita ranks in position 90, and Kenya research infrastructure expenditure is expected at 0.79 or 0.8 of GDP, which is below the EU average of 2.2. Kenya, as a country, has 173 researchers per million population. And again, we find that this one is below what is in EU countries, which is an average of 4,156. In terms of participation, just to give some statistics, under the framework program 7, which started in 2007 to 2013, Kenya participated in 77 projects, which attracted 12.3 million euros, which is approximately 1.67 billion Kenya shillings in terms of research funding. Under the horizon, which ran from 2014 to 2020, Kenya earned 140 participations, securing research funding up to a level of 32.1 million euros, equivalent to 4.3 billion across a number of thematic areas. That is for the period 2014 to 2020, 7 years. And this increased participation could largely be attributed to the aggressive awareness creation that was done during that period by the State Department of Higher Education and Research through national awareness workshops across our research institutions and universities. As a ministry, we participated in 8 programs, and most of them were support and coordination. There's one which was CASTNet and CASTNet Plus. There's another one on space science, which was space science bridging actions for global monitoring and environment. It was called BRAGMA. One on ICT, Information Society Africa. Then again, one on research infrastructure, abbreviated as PIRIP. The ministry also has participated in 3 joint funding schemes. The first one, which was in 2011, was on Euraxess, European Research Area Network, where we had 11 projects funded from Kenya collaboratively. And again, we had the RIPANGRI, which is a collaborative research project on food and nutrition security and sustainable agriculture. The one which is currently running, it's called Food Systems and Climate, which is also a co-fund with a top-up from the European Commission. Under Horizon Europe, already we are doing well and we are performing better. We are now 9th in participation, attracting being 4th in attracting EU contribution in among the 3rd countries, the countries that don't belong to the European Commission or the associated countries. So far, there are 46 participation as of today, and they have attracted 11.03 million euros, which is approximately 1.67 billion Kenya shillings in terms of research funding. Why are we encouraging our Kenyan participants to participate, our Kenyan researchers? There are a number of reasons, but more so is also we wish to them to access on-class research infrastructures because there's a lot of bilateral working between the 2 regions. And also we want them to participate in technology transfer. We want them to develop and nurture and commercialize top-notch innovations, as well as acquire specialist equipment and access funding, among other advantages that come with that participation. That is what I wanted to share for now. I think we could continue with the next presenter. Thank you.
Many thanks, Mr. Njagi, for your presentation, giving already an overview about the strong Kenyan participation to our very successful participation to our program. and the activities of your ministry. Now I give the floor to the Professor Walter Oyava, that is Director General for the National Commission for Science, Technology and Innovation, NACOSTI. Please, Professor, you have the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And I've tried to share the screen. Our CS, ably represented by our PS, Dr. Beatrice, Ms. Christina, the Director-General of Research and Innovation, Ambassador Henriette, dear colleagues, participants, good morning. I will make a brief presentation on behalf of the recently established research consortia established by the Cabinet Secretary to spearhead engagement with Horizon Europe program. And therefore, I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, he is available.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, just a minute so that I can put it in the presentation mode.
Professor, you have just 5 minutes. I see you have 15
Yes.
slides. I'm a little bit
No,
worried.
5 minutes, exactly 5 minutes. Yes, I wanted to just give a brief highlight on the regulatory framework that governs the STI sector, and quickly mention that the STI sector is governed by the STI Act 2013, which was established for 3 purposes. One was to facilitate the promotion, coordination, and regulation of the sector. And number 2 was to prioritize STI. And number 3 was to entrench STI. I also want to mention that the Kenya government has moved with speed. And I think last year and this year, for the first time, we are undertaking what you're calling STI mainstreaming. And in this STI mainstreaming, it enables the coordination of research programs like Horizon Europe. And just to mention something, in the sector, there are 3 agencies that coordinate the sector. One is NACOSTI, the other one is the Kenya National Innovation Agency, and the National Research Fund, who is a co-organizer of this event. I just want to mention that most recently, the Cabinet Secretary established a consortium to engage with Horizon Europe. I think that was just part of the letter. So we look forward to an escalated engagement. You have said that Kenya is doing very well in Horizon Europe. The government really demonstrates its interest in Horizon Europe by establishing a committee which will engage with you and also with the researchers and participants and probably assist them in ensuring that the proposals that they put forth are a success. We kindly want to request the participants here who will form into consortium to, number 1, maybe focus on priorities of the government, which are mainly linked to the new government's manifesto. On our side, as the National Commission for Science, Technology, and Innovation, there are about 12-point listed priorities, which are very similar to Horizon Europe. You can see like the number 1 is R&D strengthening, the number 2 is education, number 3 is inclusivity. These slides will be circulated, I think, by the team, the Secretariat. So I just want to highlight a good number of these chosen priorities are very similar to Horizon Europe. If you look, for example, matters of inclusivity, matters of advocacy, matters of diplomacy, I think that is also part of Horizon Europe. If you look at another one, matters of health security is also in Horizon Europe. And also, if I may pick multi-agency approach and so forth and so forth. So we also want to highlight areas of the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, which is extremely important. And again, very similar to Horizon Europe, the key areas of the incoming government are health matters, water and sanitation, food and agriculture, manufacturing, transport and communication, infrastructure and environment. So we really encourage those who will apply for this program to comply with the themes that are given in the Horizon Europe program, but also to check on what is expected of them. At the end of the programs, and we have done quite a number, we would encourage participants, successful participants, to figure out what will be their contribution to Kenya's global competitiveness. And by this, we mean that how will you be, or your research and your findings and your outcomes contribute to Kenya's Global Innovation Index? How will it contribute to Kenya's World Competitiveness Ranking, SDG Index? There are a number of indexes which will measure the impact that the outcomes of your activities will be. So we are open to engagement with the researchers. We ask you to check on what is considered the African paradox. We look at the second bullet, that despite the riches that Africa has, Africa only produces 3% of the global GDP, accounts for less than 3% of international trade, and contributes just 2% of world research output, and accounts for only 1.3% of research spending and produces 0.1% of all patents. This is an area of concern that we could improve on this so that we increase the country's global competitiveness. So as mentioned, I think the time is limited, but the slide will be circulated. In conclusion, we just want to say that we are living in times of science, where science is dictating the current trends and probably the future. We believe that Horizon Europe provides opportunity for Kenya to enhance national prosperity and improve global competitiveness. We encourage research teams to apply. Again, is requesting that we focus on national priorities within the themes of Horizon Europe. Collaboration among the players in the STI system and internationally is strongly encouraged. And so with those few slides, I thank you and revert back to you. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Professor Oyama, for your very clear message and for mentioning the African paradox. This is something really that we need to solve in the very close future. Now, I'm very glad to give the floor to Professor Isael Pereira da Silva, professor at Strathmore University that I met a few weeks ago during the event in Nairobi. So very, very welcome, Isael. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Piero. Thank you very much also to Madame Maria Cristina Russo and also the ambassador of the EU to Kenya. And I hope Henriette Geiger, I hope I spoke right her surname, and I look forward actually to hearing from her. Yeah, but what I have to say regarding this partnership between the European Union and the African Union is that it has a detail that has not been such before. And this makes me very optimistic. And what is that? Is that this project is specifically with its 4 areas, that is health, green transition, technology and innovation, and also the ease of teaching science, is focused on sustainability. Is not only a certain fund to given to scientists in Kenya to develop something. No, it is a kind of institutionalized such that it is helping its institutions to be here for good and here to stay. And I would like to illustrate it with one detail, which when in November the 23rd last year, Madame Maria Cristina Russo paid a visit to Strathmore University with Piero, and then there was a signpost that a marble piece of structure there showing that campus was the construction of it, all of it in 1993 was supported by the European Union. Yeah, so. And then when we told her that we had about 10,000 students, that we have about 3,000 of those are graduate students, that we are helping people with the incubator, with the research. So she was quite happy. And I think this is the idea. It's not that, look, you have X million of euros and you do something here. Finish, okay, account for, nice, thank you, next. No, it is an institution which is there to stay and keeps doing good as it goes on in sustainability. So this is wonderful. I want to put 2 examples, which is, I think, makes it clear, and then I hope Pierre will agree. I could talk for, perhaps you give some 5 minutes more. Yeah, the issue is that there is a paradox that today, the 1.2 billion African in the 54 countries of this continent put together have a GDP of $3.6 trillion. Now, France, one country, 66 million people, has a GDP of 3.7 trillion, which is bigger than ours. So why is that? it is because I advocate, and I stand to be corrected, that there is a lot of, one side is research. People do a lot of research, they get patents. I believe universities in France or in Ireland, they will be getting something like 300 patents in a year or more. Now, the Strathmore has become a university since 2008. That's 15 years ago, and we have 4 patents. So this is the thing, that the research goes very much together with the development, and I firmly believe in that. Our economy in Kenya is number 10 or in Africa, but then 1, 2, and 3 are Egypt, Nigeria, and South Africa, where they have more money for research than us. So this is one thing. Then the second thing is that, as you know very well, we lack reliable, clean, and affordable energy. 600 million people plus, and this number is still counting, because the continent of African continent is a continent where there are about today 3.5 to 4 children per woman, which is the only continent in the whole planet that is growing. So it means this number is increasing from 600 million to 630 million. So we have to have sustainable support for research in order to solve these problems. Yeah, we are very happy with the European Union. They have given us a support to Kenya Climate Innovation Center. I think is the flag project for EU in Kenya today, and they are supporting us to the tune of 20 million euro. And this has helped us to set up 2,000 new business in Kenya. And you know, normally the small and medium enterprise, they die. There is the valley of death, and we get about 5%, 7% of the people who enter into that accelerator and incubator being successful. Now, over the last 10 years, Kenya Climate Innovation Center has got around 40% of success with the small and medium enterprise. So this is development. This is helping us to grow to the level of becoming a country which is no longer in need. So I think I have one other point. We are trying very hard to work together with KCIC, because Kenya Climate Innovation Center is touching people, impacting society is great, but their research is not very mature. In Strathmore, we have a more mature research, but impact in societies is smaller. So when you put these two together, both being supported by EU, you can get solutions for problems. Like, for instance, clean cooking. It is a known fact that many women in Africa, they can get cancer of the lungs, they can get a problem with their eyes because of indoor pollution by cooking using charcoal and firewood. It has to stop. Nobody in the planet does that.
Professor Israel, please conclude.
Okay, I thank you very much for that. And then I think all of us are in agreement that we should really get ourselves far away from something called NATO, which is no action, talk only. So we have to gauge ourselves by the things we do in favor of the development of this country. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thanks to you, Israel, for your wise word and the connection between research and development in any country. I see now that Ambassador Geiger is connected. So, Ambassador, I give you the floor. Please unmute yourself. Okay, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you very much for the floor, and I want to apologize for the inconvenience. We were falling out of a network connection. We are having troubles in the delegation, and I'm just seeing here that our connection remains unstable. So if I fall out, just ignore it. We'll try to reconnect. But I would just like to take the opportunity to pass very few key messages in case we're getting disconnected again. So first, I'm extremely happy that we're having this conference and that there are so many people interested and connected. And I hope we can keep their interest throughout the conference, because what this is all about is to make you all interested and knowledgeable to see the opportunities that are here at your doorstep and to be able to take advantage of this. Why? Because we think that the EU with Horizon has the second Horizon program has made available to the world an exceptional tool, unparalleled. And we want to make sure that the message travels and all those who could be in a position to take advantage are really informed about this opportunity. And I'm deeply convinced that there is much more that we can do in Kenya, because Kenya has all the basics in place to be able to take part in these research projects. And if I may, I think the government's priorities are very much aligned with the EU's priorities, which also inform our research programs. So to do research together between Kenya and the EU is in both of our strategic interests. And we want to contribute to build that capacity in Kenya, so also that jobs, research jobs, are created within Kenya and not only maybe in Nairobi, but we have to dream big, and we have to look also at possibilities of universities and research institutes outside of Nairobi and try to get them closer to our programs. So this all can be made together in partnerships. So I encourage all of you who are online today, please see what is on the table for you, see how you can connect, and if you need some help and further support, we as delegation here in Kenya stand ready to connect you to get that sort of additional information or support you may need to take advantage. There are some research institutes in Kenya and universities who already successfully participate, but we want to broaden that collaboration. But this shows that it is possible, and we are most grateful for the interests of the Education Ministry, represented by the PS today. But as Maria Cristina says, we had a meeting with the minister when she was here in Kenya, and we said we really want to make this online meeting to broaden the information about what is possible with the EU in the research field, and maybe later have a physical meeting. And in any case, we can always, with those interested, have a workshop here also in the delegation, if that is deemed useful. But in any case, we want to broaden our cooperation with the Ministry of Education to see how we can develop this area of joint research this year in the years to come. I think the sky is the limit. I'm very enthusiastic about this. and count on me for any sort of support you may need. So I will leave it there because I'm afraid we will be cut off at any moment. My colleagues will stay throughout the event. I will have to sign off, but I just wanted to reiterate that very strong message of support from my side. I will do whatever it takes to make it happen. So I wish you a very successful event. And I hope that out of this event, many of you will be encouraged to apply and to succeed. And hopefully with that, we will create jobs, we will create relevant research that serves both Kenya and the EU and the world. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Ambassador, for your words. Well, the message is extremely clear. Horizon Europe is an exceptional tool, and the message must travel also outside Nairobi in the universities in Kenya. And many thanks to you also from my director, Cristina Russo, for your support and the support of your delegation to our work, well, to our common work, obviously. That's it. Many thanks. I give the floor now to my colleague Antonio Marquez Camacho, that is Desk Africa for the DG RTD European Commission from Brussels. Antonio will give a full overview about the options of Horizon Europe and the Africa Initiative 2. Antonio,
okay, thank you.
adelante.
Yes, thank you, Piero. Thank you to everyone for being here. Thanks also to the speakers who have already preceded me. So you have already provided a lot of information. I mean, even our political masters, as Piero has said, have already given us a lot of pieces of information. Plus, of course, the wider context of Horizon Europe and our cooperation with Africa and with Kenya specifically. So some of the points I wanted to address in my presentation probably have already been referred to, but it's good maybe to always emphasize them. So let me see if I can share my screen. If I have no problem on that, let's see. Yeah, it should be there. Yeah, let's see. So I hope it's there. Yes. If you can, yeah, if you can be with me then.
Yes,
yes, is it there? Yes.
Fine. Fine.
Yes, you can see the screen.
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay, I assume. Okay,
Yes.
so just yes. So this will be, as I said, a very a little bit more detailed presentation, but taking already on board many of the messages that our director, also the Kenyan secretary and the head of delegation have already provided us, plus details on Kenya's participation and on Kenya's involvement in research and innovation cooperation with the EU that also our colleagues from Kenya have kindly provided us. So we will focus indeed on the program work program 2023-24 of Horizon Europe, and then what we call the Africa Initiative 2, with a focus on Kenya as opportunities that Africa Initiative 2 may provide to the country. So we will say a few words first about Horizon Europe and our international cooperation that we are having from Europe in the area of research and innovation. Then we will specifically focus more on the Africa Initiative 2 and why this Africa Initiative 2 is building indeed on the outcome of the Africa Initiative 1 that we launched at the beginning of Horizon Europe. So this was the first approach that we had on that sense in 2020 for 2021-22, and how we are now building up on that success for the opportunities that we hope to offer through the Africa Initiative 2, and then how Kenya can indeed benefit from these opportunities. So the Horizon Europe is indeed our framework program for research and innovation for covering 2021-2027. It was already referred in some of the presentations, the previous programs that we have been supporting, in which Kenya particularly was already quite successful in 2007-13 and then 2014-2020 with Horizon 2020, and how now Horizon Europe indeed is not like a let's say like a beginning. It's more like reinforcing the trend of engagement of Kenya and Kenyan researchers and innovators in our framework programs. So we're really reinforcing a very positive trend that we have been seeing in the last years. So here you see a little bit the budget of the program. It's a very big budget of almost 100 billion euros covering these 7 years. It's divided in some components: excellent science, global challenges, innovative Europe, widening part, and the European research area. So this is more just to give an idea. And then we are working our cooperation not just with the program itself, but also with a policy approach to our cooperation outside Europe. So what we call since 2021 this global approach to research and innovation. So we're not just using the program; we're also trying to have the program, but then reinforced with this more systematic approach. In which we try to indeed preserve openness in research and in innovation and international cooperation, while also promoting what we call a level playing field and reciprocity, underpinned by fundamental values. And we also want to strengthen the multilateral partnerships to develop new solutions to green, digital health, innovation challenges. How are we trying to achieve that? So first, we're trying to modulate our bilateral cooperation in line with our European interests and values, and also to reinforce what we call our own EU's strategic autonomy. We also want to accelerate sustainable and inclusive development, and of course the transition in all countries to resilient and knowledge-based societies, particularly in our cooperation with low and middle income countries like Kenya. And we also want to work on using what we call a Team Europe approach. So, which means not just working as EU, but also working together with our member states, together with our financial institutions, so that we can deliver better solutions and better proposals for cooperation on research and innovation to our partners outside Europe. So we have these guiding principles that are actually embedded in our global approach: the commitment to openness, the commitment to our values and principles on research and innovation that we consider we can also share with most of our partners. And we also want to have indeed context the pursuit of this level playing field and reciprocity in our cooperation with partners outside Europe, and also the concept of pooling global efforts so that we can tackle global challenges that we cannot just tackle on our own, or we cannot just individual countries cannot tackle on their own. We have here a little bit the structure of the program without entering into detail. The Horizon Europe, as you can see specifically, you have, for instance, the pillar 1 on excellent science, supporting in particular the European Research Council, the Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions and research infrastructure. Then we have pillar 2 on global challenges in European industrial competitiveness, with a series of specific themes, or what we call clusters, so on health, on culture, civil security for society, digital, climate, food by economy, and so on. And then we have what they call the pillar 3 on innovative Europe, where we're supporting indeed the European Innovation Council, European Innovation Ecosystems, the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. So really innovation is very much embedded in the structure and in the aims of the program. So that's why we always emphasize indeed that we are supporting both research and innovation in a more wider sense. The international cooperation dimension of Horizon Europe is also based on this principle of openness. We also referred as well when talking about the global approach. Also based on the concept of indeed accessing EU funding so EU funding from Horizon Europe that is made available to cooperation with external partners. Indeed, this is related to our what we call targeted international cooperation actions, and this is the framework in which we are indeed working with the Africa Initiative 1 and now Africa Initiative 2, and also the idea and the concept of safeguarding EU interest into this this cooperation. I would like to also to underline that all countries or practically all countries can participate in this targeted, particular as regards targeted international cooperation actions. So the way we do it is that we flag some specific topics that are relevant for international cooperation, depending on either on the themes or on the areas. So we may have strategic thematic areas. We may have also countries or regions, geographical areas that are also considered relevant. So for our cooperation, we can also flag multilateral initiatives, and also indeed we can identify key partners with whom we want to cooperate, and then to develop specific actions together with them. So in that sense, now that we are presenting the work program for 2023-24, you can see that approximately 22% of this funding is indeed flagged as international cooperation, and then you have to, in that case, you have to go to our funding and tender portal of Horizon Europe, and then filter for international cooperation. So that's the way that you can see indeed which are the topics, which are the calls that are open for international cooperation. In particular, then cooperation with Africa, and then also the Med African countries under the Africa Initiative already referred to. So just a brief reference as well that we indeed have some countries that so this is also always to be kept in mind. We have in particular Russia and Belarus that are currently under sanctions. It means that they cannot participate, or legal entities established in Russia, in Belarus, or in non-government controlled territories of Ukraine cannot participate in the work program 2023-24. And if there are to be exceptions, this must be established on a case-by-case basis. And the only exemption allowed is indeed the participation for researchers from these countries, the eventual participation in Maria Sklodowska-Curie fellowships. Now focusing more on Africa and EU-Africa cooperation. Indeed, for us, for the EU, cooperation with Africa is really of a strategic character. So we really want to cooperate with Africa because it's a strategic partner in all areas. So research and innovation is a key area in which we also want to cooperate, and particularly because we see that there are a lot of global challenges that need specific solutions at the local level. So we need, particularly in the case of Africa, because Africa is in many cases hit hardest by these global challenges, like for instance climate change, so more than other regions. So we really need to see how we can develop solutions that are adapted to the situation on the ground in Africa. So this is indeed one of the reasons. So by helping Africa, we're also helping to tackle these global challenges. We have, just to remind you, we have indeed a comprehensive EU strategy with Africa, and also, of course, the global approach, which I already mentioned, on research and innovation. So these are indeed prioritizing research and innovation as a key dimension of sustainable development in Africa. So we indeed have put scaling up the EU's academic and scientific cooperation with Africa on top of our agenda, because we really see that this is the key to developing prosperous knowledge societies and knowledge-based societies in Africa. And this will be indeed the way into more sustainable development for Africa. So it is in our main strategy for Africa. It is also in our global approach, so where we say for research and innovation, where we indeed indicate that we want to have a special openness vis-a-vis African countries that wish to thrive as this knowledge-based economy. So we are indeed fully in line both at the strategic level for Africa and at the specific strategic concept of our cooperation on research and innovation outside Europe. We developed this this cooperation also at the policy level. We have, it was already referred by our director, that we have indeed our high-level policy dialogue on science, technology, and innovation since 2010. This is the policy forum where we can have regular exchanges on research and innovation policy with our African partners, and together also with European Union member states, in which we can indeed work to develop long-term priorities to strengthen our cooperation. And it is within this, in the context of this policy dialogue, that we had the first ever African Union EU Research and Innovation Ministerial meeting in 2020, which indeed established the 4 joint priorities of our cooperation. So public health, green transition, innovation and technology, and capacities for science. So we do have this overall policy framework of cooperation and of exchange, which allows us then to develop more specific lines of work, joint lines of work together with our African partners. Also, not to forget the fact that for EU cooperation with Africa, it's very important as well, the Global Gateway Investment Package, which was announced in the last EU summit with African Union Summit in February 2022, in which it was announced a budget of around 150 billion euros, indeed aiming to support Africa in the same line of I already indicated, so the same line of developing a strong, inclusive, green and digital recovery, because it was also in the context of post-COVID recovery, but of course also in the concept of more sustainable development. And in the area of science, technology and innovation, we presented 3 flagship initiatives that we are now developing so that we can carrying out. One indeed that is more under a specific responsibility, and it's the African Union, European Union Innovation Agenda, in which we have already invested a lot of reflection and a lot of joint work with our African partners. And this was also the reason why our director went to Nairobi in November, as you referred, on mission to discuss with our partners more in detail the innovation agenda in this important stakeholder event that we organized at that time. We also have indeed another flagship on Earth observation and space, and another one on we call regional centers for excellence in the area of green transition. So going now into a little bit more detail on the joint EU innovation agenda, it is important because it's actually, as I said, it's a flagship initiative, but it's also for us, it's providing the wide framework of our action in the coming years in the area of innovation with Africa. So it is indeed a very relevant document for us. It was also requested by our ministers. In the ministerial meeting in July 2020, indeed with the idea of enhancing the impact of science, technology and innovation on socioeconomic development, and fostering the translation of research and innovation results into products, into services, into businesses and jobs in both Africa and Europe. So with this concept, with this idea of having these 4 objectives, making it real, generate impact by design, strengthen people, communities and institutions, and then learn, monitor and scale it up. So with these wider 4 objectives, then we developed together, we developed this set of short, medium, and long-term actions according to these 4 joint priority areas, the same ones that I referred to for our established in our high-level policy dialogue. And then we indeed developed as well the mapping of gaps and needs for each priority area. So this allowed us to have already a working document of the innovation agenda in early 2022. It was already presented, in fact, acknowledged in the EU African Union Summit of 1 year ago. And then we submitted it for an online public consultation, allowing us to get more feedback from partners from Europe and the EU. And then further, as I already referred, in this important stakeholder event in Nairobi and also online that we organized in November. So we expect now to have this final version of the agenda integrating all the comments received by the second quarter of 2023, and so that it could be adopted. That's our expectation, that it could be adopted by the second African Union EU Research and Innovation Ministerial meeting that we are planning to have on 13th June 2023. So we expect that after that, we indeed will have a document, a framework for action in the coming years. And indeed, we're also already working on how to develop the roadmap for implementation of this innovation agenda in the coming years. So also a reminder indeed of, I already mentioned the summit, but a reminder indeed of this joint vision for 2030 that was presented in the European Union African Union Summit in February 2022. The joint EU innovation agenda was indeed underlined, but also underlined where like the importance of exchanges of citizens, exchanges of students, exchange of researchers, of course, the partnership between universities, so that we will really reinforce the cooperation in that context in the coming years. So this is the vision. This is the vision for 2030. This is in which we're working, and of course we hope that we will put our part in the area of specific of the research and innovation to accomplish this joint vision. So going now to the Africa Initiative 2 in this second work program of Horizon Europe. So just to underline that we indeed have a program, what we call a framework program for 7 years, 2021, 2027, and then we implement this program, this wider framework program through what we call work programs that cover at least up to now 2 years each time. So we launched one already in covering the years 2021, 2022, and now we launched again, as our director explained, we launched the second work program at the end of 2022 to cover 2023 and 2024. And the idea indeed within this wider program is to have specific calls under specific topics that are important for to boost the EU-Africa cooperation, so that this will be targeting cooperation with African institutions, with African universities, with research centers. So the idea is at the same time that the actions that will have a total budget of around 300 million euros will allow indeed us to start implementing the short-term and medium-term actions, in particular of the EU innovation agenda, so that we can see how the actions that we are the products that we're indeed developing in our research can also be transferred into tangible positive impact on the ground. In particular, the areas of green transition, innovation, technology, and capacities for science. As you can see, especially green transition, it's where we have put most of the funding. So 260 million euros out of the 300 billion that this Africa initiative will cover. And this is now ongoing. So we have the action, the work program, adopted in December 2022. You can always find the information in detail using the funding, the EU funding and tenders portal, and it's really now an ongoing process. So we have here a little bit of the reference also of what we're doing, for instance, on capacities for science and innovation and technology. These are some of the calls, because the program is indeed then implemented through different specific call proposals from different topics. So here we have under this white cluster, we have calls. Some are already for 2023, some are for later for 2024, because it's a biannual program. So not everything is launched and open at the same time, but there will be a process, a progressive process of opening up and publishing these calls. But you can see a little bit the topics here. So like for instance, strengthening bilateral cooperation on research infrastructure South Africa, also developing the African Union European Innovation Platform. So these are actions for 2024, but then for 2023 we have actions on research and innovation cooperation on coordination and support units, on promoting US standards globally, on Earth observation platform, which is also related to the flagship initiative that I mentioned before, and designing space-based downstream applications with international partners. So these are actions that are already being about to be implemented, already published for 2023. Again, here on the green transition, we have 2 slides. It's a little bit more detailed because, as I said, most of the budget has been allocated to actions on this area. So I'm not going to go through all the different calls, but just to see that indeed there is a strong focus on for instance, adaptation to climate change in Africa, on generation, low emission, climate resilient pathways for a future aligned with the Paris Agreement, on developing, for instance, no lithium sustainable batteries, and accelerating green transition and energy access in Africa. So there is really a wide variety of actions here. I would say more or less half are already to be launched or are launched for 2023. The other half are for 2024, but they will indeed both sets of actions of calls will indeed be launched within the next 2 years. Again, here in the second slide, you have another set of calls or proposals. So for in other areas, like for instance, food safety, on the areas like agroforestry, management for climate change adaptation and mitigation, bio-based solutions for humanitarian applications. So it's also divided into actions for 2023 and actions for 2024. Here, just to pass in now a little bit on a little bit, it was already referred to in some of the presentations about how indeed Kenya has been particularly successful on the program. So here first we have a little bit of a general indication of proposals under Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe for the whole of Africa. So it's just to give a comparison. This allows to give a comparison with across countries, showing eligible proposals, retained proposals, and then the success rate proposals that was indicated. Kenya is actually at a quite high level, as you can see also in terms of, particularly in terms of retained proposals compared to other countries, so close to really really on the top performing countries, and this was in Horizon 20, and if you see in Horizon Europe, even more so. So it's basically the second best country after just South Africa. So it's which is quite remarkable. So from the fourth to the second in the if you compare the two programs. So this is just for the beginning, because it was only covering the 2021-2022 work program. So we of course hope and expect that this considerable rate of success will continue, no? And will be kept up now in the 2023-24 work program, and later on in the successive work program, so that the overall participation of Kenya and Horizon Europe will indeed keep this very good beginnings, I would say, no, from the first 2 years of the program. Here again, you see more in terms, this is not so much about across countries, but more about on topics. But you can see, focusing on Africa again, you can see the total of participations, 334 participations from Africa, including 241 unique participations, meaning it's the only participation that they have, and with a total of 126 signed grants. And the most important here is to see indeed the topics, particularly food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture, and environment, which are indeed very, very relevant for Africa, and it represents approximately half of the participations already within the Horizon Europe in the whole of Africa. Again, now this was already a little bit referred to in the previous presentations, but just as a reminder on the specific situation of Kenya regarding research and innovation, you have indeed Kenya is on 49th position on research and innovation expenditure per inhabitant. It's indeed below the EU average. That's true, but still, as you will see, as we have said, considering the relatively low level of expenditure and the relatively low level of also of researchers, of patent applications, etc., we consider that on the other hand, the participation of Kenya is quite remarkable on that basis of how they have managed to access our programs. And now, as you can see, the total EU contribution expected for Horizon Europe, it's already about more than 12 million euros. Again, here just a few references that you can see the figure I just gave on Horizon Europe, but the total for Horizon 20 was around 32 million of EU contribution in 7 years. So now in just 2 first years, we already have more than 12, almost 13 million euros. So we expect that we will of course have an increased rate of contribution compared to Horizon 2020 once we will have more data for the coming years. Also in terms of grants signed, so we have 36 grants signed, in fact 7 are in preparation, so it's a total of 43, but just for the first 2 years when we had 82 for the Horizon 20 in 7 years. So indeed there is an increased rate of participation, the same on the number of participations of Kenyan organizations, 140 in 7 years in Horizon 20, but already 53 in the first 2 years now with Horizon Europe. So here, just as I mentioned, we have a total of 700 grants under preparation, 36 already signed, so it makes a total of 43 for the different calls under Horizon Europe in the first work program. This is indeed, as was already referred, it means that Kenya is in 8th position in participants and 5th in budget in Horizon Europe, compared to its previous rate, which was 14th in participation and 5th in budget share on Horizon 20 among third countries, of course. So the success rate is indeed below the EU average, but not much lower. So it's 21% compared to 22 for EU organizations. So it's we consider it quite remarkable that the Kenyan organizations achieved that rate of success. And we have a total right now of 53 participations. So we have 43, but in fact 43 projects, 43 grants with participations. But because in some projects you have more than one participating Kenyan organization, it's a total of 53 participations. So this is, as I said, already quite a remarkable rate in comparison with the rate of participation in Horizon 2020. Just here a little bit, again, this goes a little bit in line with what I already showed, mostly that the participation, the granted projects involving Kenyan actors are indeed focusing mostly on the area of food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture, the same area which was indeed also covering most of the participations from overall from African countries. So it is really in line with that, but we also have important participations, of course, also on climate, energy and mobility, on health, on various Lodowska-Curie actions, and so on, and other more specific ones. Also, in terms of the EU contribution to projects involving Kenyan actors by thematic area. So as I said, we expect a total of 12 million. In the end, we have already like around 6 million already devoted to food, bioeconomy, natural resources, which is obviously in line with the fact that then most participations are also in that area. And just here a little bit of a list. It's a whole list, but it gives you an indication indeed of the wide variety of actors that are participating from in Horizon Europe granted projects. So we have a total 2 slides, but you have a variety because you have universities, you have Strathmore University, Kenyatta University, Maseno University, Aga Khan University, etc. But you also have specific research organizations, institutions, Kenya Medical Research Institute, for instance, and then other centers, more international, like International Center for Research in Agroforestry, etc. So we also have some public organizations, both country level, like the Minister of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, is involved, also at international level, like the United Nations Environment Program or the United Nations Human Settlement Program. And the same in the second slide, where you have also more of the partners. So it's a quite considerable variety. I think we hope that this will be kept for the next calls and under this work program, that there's not just a concentration on a few, let's say, few organizations or few universities or few research centers that are able to access the program, but indeed that that we have a wide variety of organizations that are able to access the program through different grant projects. Just here now a little bit is to go back indeed of to the more general information. It's also in relation with the fact that we are developing in this priorities of our cooperation, of our dialogue with Africa. We have developed in these different dimensions what we call partnerships. So this EU African Union Research Innovation Partnerships. It was also referred by our director in her presentation. So indeed, we have on the public health area, we have an important partnership on clinical trials, which has already supported or tackled poverty-related infectious diseases in sub-Saharan Africa. We have also an important partnership on food nutrition security and sustainable agriculture with our joint investment of up to now 700 million euros over 300 projects, also in the specific topics related to green transition, like agriculture and food systems for nutrition, expansion and improvement of agriculture, trade and markets, etc. And also within the same area on green transition, the climate change sustainable energy partnership with also projects that are indeed supporting the development of climate services, renewable energy, energy efficiency, all in the idea of supporting adaptation and mitigation efforts, in various sectors for Africa. And implementing the Paris Agreement of climate change. And also in the area of innovation and technology, an important project ongoing is the Enriching Africa project, which is indeed developing a network of innovation incubators and accelerators, both from Africa and Europe. Here we are supporting entrepreneurs with ideas, with startups, with important ideas for companies, for new companies, and also for expanding or exploring the needs of companies that want to expand, both African companies into Europe and European companies into Africa. And we have a wide variety of what we call the Enriching Africa community, including companies, investors, business support organizations that are all working towards the same goal. Also, indeed, an importance of referring to these synergies, because sometimes we see the different initiatives and they're a little bit like, it seems that they're not fully in line. Indeed, there is a strong synergy, like for instance here, if you see between Horizon Europe Africa Initiative and then what we call the Global Gateway, the European Investment Package on the Global Gateway for Africa, but also other initiatives like the ACP Innovation Fund, of course, the Erasmus Plus program. They are very much interrelated. So what we are doing from both sides, let's say from different initiatives.
Sorry, Antonio, could you finalize, because we are already half an hour late.
Yes, I know. I am just two more slides. So
okay,
yes.
Thanks.
Yes,
sorry.
I see that I am on my almost last slide. So yeah, just the same as I said, also references to our partnerships that I already explained, with also other initiatives from other DGs, other organizations from the Commission, like DG International Partnerships with the CIRA projects. So then just a short reference as well to the Maria Sklodowska-Curie actions. We're not presenting them in detail here, but there might be also other opportunities for presenting the opportunities. But it's important to underline that this is also a very key flagship program for researchers, mobility and training, that indeed support the development of doctoral programs, of collaborative research and fellowship schemes. So the idea of mobility here is very important. Mobility also from Africa to EU, so from researchers that can indeed develop their careers in that way. So more information can also be accessed through the Marie Curie Actions website. And just to refer as well that we are having some more webinars, some more on both for English-speaking countries in Africa that will be important. So for those who are attending today, because this will be on the 1st of February. So for those who would like again to have access to the information and maybe to follow in detail the explanations that we're providing today, this can also be a new opportunity to access the information, but it will be targeting all English-speaking African countries and other, as we're doing, also focusing the same like this one in Kenya, focusing on other important priority countries like Senegal, Nigeria, South Africa, etc. So really to disseminate or maximize the dissemination of the information in the coming weeks about the work program and the Africa Initiative. So here you will have all the links of the different places where you can find more information about many of the things that I mentioned here and maybe others as well. So this will so that you can expand your level of information on these initiatives. Yeah. So I finished here. Thank you very much, Piero. Sorry if I took a long time, but it was a little bit long presentation as well.
No,
Yeah.
no worries, no
Thanks
worries.
For your patience.
Well, yeah, no, it was a long and great presentation where you give a lot of food for brain, let's say, for a lot of ideas for our stakeholders, our participants. Well, just a very short comment. I had a look at the questions in the meantime. Many of the participants are asking if the slides will be shared. Yes, the slides, all the slides will be shared. You can find them in the Euraxess website, the links.
Correct.
And so you'll have full access to all this information. Other point is concerning if it's mandatory cooperation Africa, Europe. Well, when we talk about cooperative research, so we have a project with different partners. The participation of European research centers, European scientists is compulsory. We expect there are different rules, but generally we expect to have 3 partners from European or associated countries, plus other partners from other countries of the world. Okay, for the moment, that's it. That point, I'm giving the floor to Ahmed Malel, that is the regional representative for Africa of Euraxess worldwide. And Ahmed will give us a presentation about the opportunities offered by Euraxess Africa. Ahmed, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, dear Piero. You see my screen already?
No, not for the moment. Yes, we see it. We see it.
Good. So thank you very much, dear Piero, for the moderation of this event, and it is a great pleasure to be with you today in order to present Euraxess Africa. So Euraxess Africa is
Ahmed, we have your Outlook open. You're sharing your Outlook.
Okay. No, it's not mine.
I don't know. Well, maybe it's Antonio one. It's Antonio that Antonio.
Okay, Antonio, if you can stop sharing your screen. Yes, great.
Sorry, here we are. So Ahmed, share again your screen. Sorry, colleagues, for this.
No problem.
Okay, here we are. Here we are.
Good. There is okay now.
Yeah.
Okay,
please go ahead.
So Euraxess Africa is an initiative of the European Commission established with the aim to provide free access to information about research in Europe, opportunities for research funding, and international collaboration and transnational mobility. It links researchers in Africa to Europe. Furthermore, the network is open to all nationalities and research fields. So here you can see the website, Euraxess Africa website. In 2022, we have the official launch of Euraxess Africa Hub. And you can see here in the tab of worldwide, there is 9 hubs in the worldwide, and there is in the top, there is Africa. And you can sign up for free membership to Euraxess Africa. So I will share with you the link, directly the link in the discussion in order to register and get the membership as a free. So for the overview of 2022, so there is an exceptional year full of challenges for Euraxess Africa. We were very happy with all the exchanges that took place both during the online and face-to-face events. We touched base with the decision makers and RNI African key actors. The exchanges that took place were around the opportunities offered by European Commission to African researchers, the services offered by Euraxess Africa in the term of capacity building, networking, EU projects, and research mobility programs. The countries visited for 2022 were in the order of 6. We have Tunisia, Morocco, Ethiopia, Kenya, South Africa, and Egypt. The partnerships established and ongoing during the first year with the Agence Universitaire de la Francophonie, African Academy of Sciences, Institut de Recherche pour le Développement, Association of African Universities, and Federation of Arab Scientific Research Councils. So, building on previous achievements in 2023, Euraxess Africa will focus its efforts on the following points. First of all, promoting the African Initiative 2 in the context of Horizon Europe program to key African stakeholders. Enhance the collaboration in science, research, and innovation between Europe and Africa. Promoting European leadership in science and innovation, and reinforce the networking with all RNI African countries, actors. So here, there is a small promotional video about Euraxess Africa. So I invite you to see this video. So, what can we do for you? First of all, promote EU national research landscape, promote EU funding opportunities like Horizon Europe Pillar 1 and Pillar 2, promote Euraxess network, invite speakers from the network, connect researchers with research labs. Our tools are usually the website, Euraxess Africa website, social media, flash notes, newsletter, information sessions, and practical workshops. So for Euraxess portal, there is plus than 2 million visitors per year, and there is plus 1.2 million page views per month, and there is a free. So you can see here in 2021, there is more than 93,000 research positions already published in the website of Euraxess. And there is a free. So join us, be informed, be proactive, click on this button and join our community of researchers. We are in LinkedIn, we are in Twitter, we are in Facebook, and our mail is africa@euraxess.net. And there is a free, easy and valuable. Thank you for your attention, and I give you the floor, dear Piero.
Many thanks, Ahmed, for your presentation about Euraxess. I would now very happy to give the floor to the Kenyan scientist. And well, as I already mentioned, we are quite late. We have 4 presentations. So I really ask you really with all my heart to be short and sharp. Just give your feelings, your opinion about what you have done with the EU straight away. I give the floor now to Dr. Johannes Atela and Dr. Charles Tonui that are from Africa Research and Impact Network, and they are partner of the EU project Ruralities, coordinating the action of local and regional authorities in support of the rural innovations. Johannes, Charles, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Piero. Really great to be here and to share some thoughts about our experiences with the EU Horizon, which we think has been very tremendous in terms of impact on the researchers and also on the society. So maybe before I just highlight a few things, I just want to invite my colleague Charles just to give some perspective from a more bottom-up sense, given that he has been interacting quite a lot with the communities in this project, so that we also get that ground level sense. Then I'll just mention a few things because I know time has gone in 2 minutes or so. Charles, please.
Thank you very much, Piero, distinguished professionals present. I'm Charles Tonui. I'm Africa Research and Impact Fellow, and I've been privileged to contribute especially at the field-based research under the Horizon funded projects. One which started a few years ago called Small Food and Small Farmers System to support food security, and then also the Ruralities, which is commencing in April. Some of the key findings, which I'm trying to share, I'll share, is a representation of the knowledge and experience, especially around Africa, contributed by Africa Research Fellows spread across 36 African countries. And one of the key findings is related to data. And one of the key challenge is especially, which we found, is the data ecosystem is still developing and is quite difficult, especially at the subnational level, at the farmer level, but also at the national level in terms of consolidating disaggregated data, which we have really tried to build based on those projects. Secondly, which we have tried to address as a consortium, because these are multi-continental projects, including EU countries and also selected African countries. One is the challenge around knowledge translation, where we are struggling as researchers to translate, especially peer-reviewed knowledge, and also incorporating the knowledge, the indigenous knowledge from African system, and capture those innovations and technologies to really build a comprehensive working ICT information board and also technology. And also lastly is the policy relevance evidence for policy review and formulation in Africa. And this is the sixth space where I would like to acknowledge the government of Kenya, where they granted us an opportunity under the National Partners Forum chaired by the Office of the Deputy President, where I participated in 2019, where we were making the submission jointly with the Ambassador of Sweden and also the Permanent Secretary for Agriculture and Research. And this is a space where government has really given us the opportunity to really interact and also share. But the key challenge is, what is the relevant evidence, especially for the different stakeholders, both at the national level and the subnational level, especially, for instance, the default system in Kenya, where the subnational governments are supposed to implement the actions and the national government implements the policy. So the key challenge, especially at the subnational level, is the development that is ongoing, the evolving policy system, policy framework that still needs some great support. But also what we like to appreciate, especially the Horizon's contribution, is keeping the support from evidence, from research, to keep the countries to track the CAADP targets that is a comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program targets. And I think that is where we need to really invest moving forward, because 2025 is so close. We are just we are now in 2023, 2024, 2025. So how far are we in terms of really consolidating outputs and also really supporting researchers across Africa and high-level policymakers to really assimilate among also the farmers the evidence from those specific research programs. Thank you very much, and back to you, my colleague, Dr. Chela.
Thank you, Charles. I just want to add 3 things on top of what you said. Number one is the aspect of balancing the research agenda, which I think is very critical. I think moving forward with this initiative, it would be really good to strengthen the bottom-up approach to formulating the research agenda. I mean, the number of priority areas that have been identified. But as Charles says, it should be really aligned to the expectations and the aspirations of the communities, and of course, even as we talk about the government. So that's very key. And number 2 is the process of engaging with the EU Horizon proposal or project development is a very interesting process. Sometimes also, part of capacity building, because it's very rigorous. You take really months to be able to develop those proposals, and the expectations are really very, very high in terms of quality and also scientific rigor. So there's a lot of investment to be able to develop those proposals at a stage where you're not sure whether you will win or not. So that means that I think for us researchers, there will be need to really support the process of developing some of these bids so that researchers are able to really, commit and focus on developing transformative propositions that is submitted to the EU. So some of the support in terms of maybe small grants for proposal development, I think those would go a long way in strengthening the transformational aspects of the proposals that we submit. And most importantly is that we think that the approach of the winner takes it all is a bit of a letdown to most of us as researchers, because you spend many months developing these ideas. But then if you don't happen to be in the category of the funded, that means all your ideas are discarded. So there is need to think about ways in which the EU Horizon can pick some of the innovative ideas, even if they don't win or they don't become part of the funded initiative. This could be picked and be supported in various ways. And I think finally is the element of reflecting a bit on the journey of the EU Horizon. I mean, which I think is happening now in terms of just thinking about what has been achieved so far with the chain of support that Africa and of course Kenya has been able to receive. So I know there has been evaluations which are more of consultancy kind of quick scans in terms of what has happened. But I think there is need for a dedicated approach to trying to review some of the lessons, some of the best practices from this project, some of the best impact pathways that then can be adopted into new programming, but also can be cascaded much more broadly to the different stakeholders. Otherwise, from ourselves, we are grateful to the EU Horizon, and we look forward to continuous engagement with the process in these new agendas. Thanks.
Many thanks to both for your comments. I see your last remarks are really in line with the internal discussion we are having in the Commission. So we are touching the similar points, similar issues. Give the floor now to Dr. Shem Kuya, that is a senior lecturer, Department of Botany at JKUAT, and is a task leader of the project Upscale that is dealing with agricultural intensification in East Africa. Dr. Shem, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I work with Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, and we're working on a project that aims at bringing a technology that has been used to control pests and improve productivity in East Africa to scale. So we've been working with farmers with the intention of improving the resilience of their farms to climate change, but also to tap from the knowledge they have so that we can improve productivity and scale out this technology. So I share experience from 2 projects participated in Horizon Europe, Horizon 2020, where Upscale is domiciled and we were funded. But then also I participated in Horizon Europe, which was not funded. It was rejected. We scored very well for the impact part, but then we scored very low for the excellent part of the proposal. For Upscale at JQuat, it's been very good because we've received funding where we are able to buy equipment, and then also the project has helped us to build the capacity of young scientists or early career scientists. The project brings up a consortium of 18 institutions. Now, I share some 2 thoughts regarding the proposal development and also the project. 2 things that stood out to the concept development, which was really rigorous, and it requires capacity development. Without really proper guidance and learning, it becomes difficult. And in such a case, my thinking is the EU could organize things like pre-call webinars or trainings that can build the capacity of participants so that they are able to develop the proposal well. But then other experiences that I share comes from the building of the consortium. Upscale is really an ambitious project, and it requires a very effective team. So the effective team was built through bringing up partners from 18 institutions from 4 countries in Europe and 6 countries in Africa. This ensured a balance in terms of geographical spread, in terms of institutional representation, and also in terms of partner roles. This is important because when you want to do a field trial in another country, then you don't have to start establishing new partners. So I thought that was really important when forming the consortium to look at that spread in terms of expert, in terms of institutional representation, and also the geographical spread. The other thing that we noted through the consortium is that it comes, the experts are from different disciplines. And so what this brings is it allows that interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary working. Another thing that I've noted with the Upscale is that it was built on existing partnership, but then also there are a lot of initiatives, a lot of meetings that were aimed at bringing partners together, especially new partners on board. And so this involved partners traveling to host institutions. But then also in terms of that partner, when you're building partnership, there's need also to look at that eligibility, because there is eligibility for funding, eligibility for participation, and therefore it could be possible that we can bring in partners that may not be eligible. And this also goes back to looking into the requirements, looking into the guidelines, but also it goes into the building the capacity of institutions to know who is eligible and who is not. The other thing that I would like to share maybe is just for those who are looking forward to writing proposal. One will be actively reach out to partners with ideas before these calls, because when you have an idea and another person has an idea, there is always need to bring these and refine them and see whether you can form a consortia and make the application. But then when the partnership, when the proposal has been developed and you've allowed, the concept has been allowed, one of the knowledge that we learned is that it's good to involve relevant departments within your institution. Because, for example, the grants agreement is a huge document, around 300 pages. If you don't start early, the process, then it becomes difficult for you to meet the deadline. So my experience is start engaging relevant departments in your institution earlier. And then the other thing that I noted is important is also familiarize with the EU documents. Within the institution, also familiarize yourself with the signatories, because this can also hinder and delay the process of signing. So those are some of the thoughts that I share regarding our participation in upscale. Our partners are 18 and I represent them there. Thank you.
Many thanks, Shema, for your presentation. You touch points that are already that are recurrent also in the questions about multidisciplinarity, for example, and the time that is needed to prepare a proposal. Now I pass it to the next speaker, that is Professor George Ojambo, Senior Lecturer, School of Agriculture, Maseno University, that is also involved in the project Upscale for the sustainable agricultural intensification in East Africa. Professor George, you have the floor.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm sorry. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry that I am in the same grant with the Dr. Shem Kuya. So it is the same funding, the same proposal, upscaling the benefits of push-pull for sustainable intensification. So I think I won't offer much extra insight. I think maybe I can only mention two things, and I think it was also mentioned in the chat and question and answer about the inclusion of a local PI. I think although this is a Europe-Africa collaboration, I think in most cases the PI comes from Europe, especially for the project which we are in, the upscale. But it would be good to have both also in some instances where you have a local PI. The other thing I wanted to say is that in terms of proposal development, we did not have adequate time. So I would be proposing that if there is some funding, once a proposal has been approved, and then maybe the partners can come together for a detailed discussion of face-to-face. In some projects, you can get some funding so that you come together and you put pieces together so that the quality of research, the efficiency can be enhanced. Because in most cases, most of these are just through emails back and forth where people don't come together. And also my friend Dr. Kuya talked about infrastructure. I think it is limited, is not widespread. In most cases, they don't encourage, but I think as young institutions, young continent, we need to encourage the incorporation of funding for infrastructure so that we get quality of research. I think those are the only things I can add. I think we are in the same project, so his sentiments are almost the same as mine. We are partners. The European person indicated the amount of money Baseno received, so we are happy that we have participated in Europe Horizon 2020 project. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you, Professor. And well, just a short comment about one point you mentioned about the coordinator. You're right. Usually the coordinators are from Europe. Technically, well, the coordinators can also be from countries out of Europe, but it's true that there are difficulties. Why? Because an European coordinator usually has the idea, the pulse of what is happening in Europe. What are the main political drivers? Usually in Europe, universities, they have also an internal structure that is helping them with financial issues, legal issues that are not always possible to be solved out of Europe. For this reason, in the majority of the cases, we have coordinators from Europe. Obviously, if an African scientist is feeling so strong, has a so great experience in our program that and obviously has a good idea, a good network, I mean, is super welcome to be the coordinator. But as you know, I mean, it's not an easy task. Okay, and then, well, with a reference to project partners that should come together, you're fully right. Unfortunately, you know, the pandemic complicated a lot this kind of interactions. In the past, it was a common procedure that project partners were meeting in different countries every 5 or 6 months to share their view, their results. I hope this will go back also for the future. That said, I give the floor to the last speaker, that is Professor John Mugubi, that is working in the Department of Communication, Media, Film and Theatre, and he has been involved in 2 European projects, one on transcultural perspectives of art education, and the other one on communities and artistic participation in hybrid environment. Professor, you have the floor.
Thanks, Piero. As mentioned, we are involved in 2 projects as Kenyatta University, the Transcultural Perspectives in Art and Art Education, and Communities and Artistic Participation in Hybrid Environment. And both are centered on staff exchange and collaborative research in the visual and performing arts. Both TPAE and CAFE, which is Transcultural Perspectives in Art and Art Education, and Communities and Artistic Participation in Hybrid Environment, are realized within the Marie Curie Action Research and Innovation Staff Exchange, Horizon 2020. TPAE is actually funded to the tune of about 842,000 euros. And the latest project, which will be executed from February, CAFE is funded to the tune of 1.65 million euros, or about 195 million Kenyan shillings. TPAE, the first project, which was started in 2020 and which will end in next year, 2024, involved 3 institutions in Europe, 2 in Poland and 1 in Italy, and 3 institutions in Kenya. And this particular project primordially aims to investigate, contemporary art in Europe and East Africa, and forms of art education on both continents, that is Europe and Africa, in transcultural perspectives. What we do is compare capacities, we compare art curricula, and the project also supports the development of local artistic scene in various areas and the local community at the Kenyan coast. There's a festival that we've been hosting in Mombasa. In Kilifi for the last 2 years. We'll have the 3rd one next month. And very important under TPA is to foster mutual relations between European and Kenyan art scene. The project that will be executed from February, that is the Communities and Artistic Participation in Hybrid Environment, whose implementation will start in February, is aimed at developing an enhanced model of interaction and somatic participation between artists and communities coming from different backgrounds, both traditional and of course virtual ones, in hybrid environment, including physical and virtual layers. And this means that we develop a concept of virtual reality participation, building the integrated framework for VR mediated consensus and community in a form of an aesthetic dialogue geared towards layering and investigating aesthetic experience through the VR technology. And the project's physical mobilities, of course, both projects have physical mobilities from one country to another. For this particular one, the physical mobilities will be directed towards sharing knowledge and proficiency in different fields such as humanities, arts, technology, and education. And the focus will be on research in the community and arts, among others in the countries that are involved in the project. With this particular project, we have 4 European countries: Poland, Portugal, Italy, Greece, and then from Kenya is Kenyatta University. In total, we have 9 institutions and association of artists from the 5 countries involved in this particular project. And apart from activities realized during the mobilities like workshops, symposia, trainings, field research, and interviews, the cooperations between the partners in this particular project will be continued virtually, actually mostly online. And this will be realized with the use of telepresence, augmented reality, and virtual reality technologies such as the ArtSpace VR platform. So the project's team will be engaged and will operate in an experimental hybrid environment to stimulate research in terms of socio-artistic interaction and the possibilities that are available in that regard. For both projects, the funds usually are allocated, for those who may need to know, are allocated according to 3 categories. That's category A, B1, and B2. And the biggest amount usually goes towards mobility of individual researchers, catering for the air ticket, accommodation, and subsistence. And we also have the B1 category, which is the second largest allocation. It goes towards research activities, both collaborative and individual. And then we have B2, which are funds for administration and management costs. With one of the project already under execution in its 3rd year, I can highlight some of the benefits of the TPAE project, that is Transcultural Perspective of Art and Art Education, in terms of the benefits to Kenyatta University and individual members of staff and PhD students participating. This is a project that is open to academic staff in the visual and performing arts and PhD students. And like I said, it involves 3 countries, Kenya, Poland, and Italy. And the project, from what we have experienced already, the project has really helped in terms of engaging our Kenyan, our Polish and Italian, or in totality European sensibilities with the rich cultural and social traditions in order to create unique approaches to the teaching of visual and performing arts. Secondly, I would say that the project helps us empower our respective students and staff through craft and consideration to enlarge our knowledge in education in visual and performing arts. During secondments, when staff and students travel to like Italy or Poland, or the staff from Poland and Italy come to Kenya, they are scheduled to co-teach with local tutors. We integrate them in our classes. This project has also been an opportunity to explore a match between capacity, between training models, opportunities, facilities at other institutions, the European institutions. And they're also able to compare their own and ours. I would also say that it's great to engage our Kenyan, the Polish and the Italian sensibilities or European sensibilities with the rich cultural and social traditions of all the countries to create unique approaches to the teaching of the visual and performing arts, media, education, etc. Because we are talking about film, television, we're talking about fine art, we're talking about fashion design and marketing, music and dance, etc. So we are able to engage our sensibilities from the fusion of cultures, and it would be great to engage in collaborative research in this regard from the 3 years that we've experienced this kind of interaction with the European institutions. And as a country and as a university member of staff and my colleagues, I think we still have a lot to learn from other parts of the world in order to produce graduates that can compete internationally. And I believe that in this particular project, TPAE, academic staff also from Poland and Italy are learning a lot by interacting with our staff and students. So it's a mutual kind of benefits. From my experience, academic and research collaboration is a very valuable tool that can that not only accelerates the progress, but also enhances the quality of the work and extends the repertoire of the partners. And from this particular project, I believe that academic collaboration is beneficial to the faculty in learning new teaching tools and to the students in increasing their breadth of knowledge and learning different approaches to solving a problem. An academic culture that fosters partnership and cooperation instead of individualism must be embraced in order to improve quality as well as accelerate progress. Inter-institutional collaborations are of imperative importance for the development of higher education institutions in developing countries. The modern world, makes collaboration absolutely necessary. Sharing specialized reagents, techniques, equipment, and expertise, like what you're doing with this new project among the scholars and practitioners, is very, very important in terms of improving the quality and enhancing the progress of an artist's work. So that's the much I can say in terms of what we have what we have gained from the first project. The second project, like I said, will be executed from next month. But from the experience, I encourage academic and research cooperation among various institutions, because it makes teamwork, a teamwork approach more effective in sharing knowledge, resources, and innovations. And TPA has actually helped us big time in that regard. Collaboration with world-class education institutions has raised the standards of our institutions from our experience in the last 3 years through exposure to teaching, research, services, and management methods. Indeed, international cooperation, experience, and exposure enables new researchers and educationists to expand their work, to publish it in recognized professional journals, and present it at professional meetings, both by sharing information on similar situations with others and using their most successful techniques and experiences. I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thanks to you, Professor Mugubi, for your nice words and inspiring words for all the stakeholders. Well, now we have 10 minutes for questions. If you agree, Antonio, please get connected, and also Hamed. I will start to reply to some of them, then I will give you the floor, because for sure I will miss some of the questions, so you can integrate with your view your thoughts. So first of all, what I would like to say that in the chat you find the link to Euraxess Africa if you want to subscribe, and it's the easiest way to get updated about all sorts of informations of events that are happening. So I have a question concerning CGIR. Well, as you know, these are international institutes located all over the world. In Kenya, there is a very good and well-known representative, and yes, they can participate to our programs. This was a question we received also some time ago, and we asked to our colleagues in Brussels, and you can be involved into our program. First question. Then on basic research, how we could be supportive of basic research. Well, the cooperative research instrument, so pillar 2 is not the best one, but in pillar 1, in the slide that Antonio mentioned before, there are the activities of the European research grants. This is for skyrocket science. It's an extremely competitive tool. So just to give you an idea, many European Nobel Prizes are participating to this platform. But it's also true that these are projects that are so well paid that they have really the opportunity to set up their group of work in Europe and also out of Europe. There are different kind of opportunities. They have also what they call synergy grants, including participation in the program of scientists out of Europe that can remain in their countries. So I would strongly suggest to have a look at the European research grants opportunities. I know that also Euraxess is arranging events where they present this kind of opportunities, this kind of processes. Then another point, where to find partners. Well, this is a complicated job. You have to do it through your networks in Europe. Obviously, Europe is the center. In Europe, when we present these topics, in Europe, the scientists are doing your same job. They are discussing about opportunities, about how to set up a proposal, what are the best options, and you have to get involved with them. So there are different ways to do it. obviously you have contacts there, or you have one of your students, your colleagues that is working there, get in touch. Or another option is what we call national contact point. Antonio in his slides provide the link for the national contact points. You can also contact not only working with the national contact point from Kenya, but you also can contact the national contact points of countries in Europe, saying, well, I have this expertise, I have something to offer on this specific subject. There is some of your team that is involved. Something that can be very interesting is that in Cordis you find the name of or the institution of the coordinators of previous projects. You can use this. If you work in biodiversity in agriculture, you see that at the University of Bologna in Italy, there is one person that is having a lot of projects on this subject. Just contact him, explain why you're useful to him. You know, it's really a technical discussion. They don't take you because you're coming from a nice country. They take you because you have something to offer to them, and the other way around. So, and you build up a trustful relationship, and this can bring me to the other questions. There are Erasmus Plus students that would like to know how they can interact. Well, they can interact because the fact you have an Erasmus Plus grant means that you know already how the European system is working, and you can try to jump in the cooperative research system. Then another point, UK. Well, UK at present, well, as you know, UK is not part of Horizon Europe. So we have been supporting some project in the past with European partners, but I would strongly suggest that don't involve the European English partner in your proposals, because anyway it will be complicated. The English government offered to support their scientists that are involved in our program, but this is done by the English government, is not done by us. This is very painful for everyone, what happened with the Brexit, but this is the situation at present. Then concerning gender balance, someone noticed we don't have many ladies attending this event. Well, one of the rules for evaluating our proposal is to have an appropriate gender balance. If in the number of scientists we don't have enough female scientists, this is a criteria to reject the proposal. And then the last point on disability. Disability is obviously a key issue. Well, as one of the speakers before mentioned, it's important the multidisciplinarity. So, for example, when we talk about a project dealing with agriculture in East Africa, just to make an example, the issue of disabled people can be one of the subjects discussed and analyzed in a broader project. Just to give you an example. So you don't have to look for only a project where disability is in the title. You have to think strategically and consider where you can introduce your topic. Well, I think for the moment it's all from my side. I give the floor to Antonio and also to the other speaker. I see John, Johannes are with the video on. If you want to intervene, you are very welcome. Antonio.
Well, I think you already replied to most of the questions I was going through. Yes, so I'm really, yes, especially the one on gender balance. I think that was really calling my attention. I wanted to say that, in fact, as you saw, our 3 political masters were actually ladies. So we were really very good on that respect, both from the Kenya and the EU side. So, but indeed, we do not, we were not maybe as good in terms of also presenting, presenting the experiences of Horizon Europe and also ourselves. So to ensure some more gender balance, so we really have to maybe to think about that next time. So I think it's also important to have this. And then as you said, indeed for the projects, I mean, you already indicated that it is already foreseen as an element, important element in application. So I don't really see anything that has been referred that you have not mentioned. I mean, we already said indeed most of the information it's already available in the links that will be made that you can access through the presentation. So just to be clear, so once you get access to the presentation has a lot of links that you don't need to like look later. You can just connect directly, and this will lead you to the different important information. In particular, our tender and funding portal. That's where you will find information about the calls that are open. Some people were asking which calls are open and which ones are not. So as I mentioned, some of them are open for now for 2023. Indeed, they're open until maybe March or April, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're really interested in those ones, you really have to go and check fast. And then on the other hand, some are more for 2024. So this will give you more time to prepare, and as also Piero said, to go through your network. If you're saying like, yes, I would like to work on this field, and I have already contacts in Europe from universities in Europe. So let's see if they are planning to work in this area, and I can offer my university, my research center, to be part of this project. So I think I would really encourage you to check immediately that. So that's I think the most important one because there were some comments also on individuals interested also on mobility schemes. So go look especially for the Marie Curie if it's more about research. Don't forget also, although it's not specifically research, but also on Erasmus, that if you're also interested for masters, you also have opportunities. So if you're a student and what you would like is first to develop your expertise with a master, we have also the European Erasmus Mundus Masters that are under the Erasmus Plus program, but these are also important avenues. And as Pedro said, indeed, once you enter into this will also, of course, help you out to if you want to continue your career more into the research part. So these are two important reference that you have to check. So I would just stop here. Yeah, if I think of something else before the end, I will go back.
Thanks.
Yeah, I will check
So
again all the questions.
Thanks.
Mhm.
I give
Maybe
1 minute to Ahmed, and then 1 minute to other three, two speakers. Ahmed, but they have to raise their hand because
Okay.
or Ahmed, you will tell me. Ahmed, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, dear Piero. Just to add, try to connect to Euraxess Africa website. Try to be in the mailing list. You will receive all information about opportunities. You will receive also information about online events and physical events. And we will try to organize practical workshops online to how to use funding and tenders opportunities and how to try to search a partner in order to be partner in the project Horizon Europe project. Just it for mine, dear Piero. I want to add this thing because in Euraxess Africa website there is a lot of useful information about opportunities, about funding opportunities, and about research mobility programs and opportunities for positions like PhD, postdoc, and many more.
Thanks, Ahmed. Somebody else want to comment, to intervene?
Okay, we can give the permission to in order to. There is Fred. So Fred. Yeah.
Dr. Fred, please. 1 minute. You have to unmute yourself.
So we have another.
Faith Atenia. Please unmute yourself and talk.
Thank you for the Kenya Horizon Europe today. It has been so informative, and I look forward to interacting with you more.
Thanks for your intervention. On this purpose, I would like to mention that this is the first event we plan in Africa, but we have other more. So if you want to follow more in detail presentations, we have the 1st of February, an event focused on Anglophone countries, more general. Then, well, colleagues, help me if I'm wrong. Then we plan the 9th of February, an event for Ethiopia, but nevertheless, you can easily connect. You'll find all the informations on Euraxess. Then the 7th of February, we have an event focused on energy calls, so specifically for energy. And then we have the 8th, an event for Nigeria, the 15th, an event for South Africa. And well, these are the ones I remind. It can be also a useful opportunity, you know, to get in touch with scientists from different countries that are working on your same subject. I see there are 3 colleagues. I give the floor to, I start with Charles, then Walter, then Johannes. 1 minute each. Thanks a lot. Charles, please.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Pierre, and thanks the delegates for listening to us. What I would like to really emphasize, especially going forward, which I've seen with the EU Horizon funding, is the flexibility, especially bringing together the EU researchers and also Africa researchers to facilitate co-production of relevant evidence and knowledge to inform policy and legislative implementation in Africa. And I think the lessons that we are going to really also build on from the ruralities and other related projects is that the request to really advance, especially looking at the devolved systems of governance in Kenya, where the communities, the constitution really acknowledges the role of the farmers, small food businesses, the small innovators, you know, and really those shapers of opinion and decisions and policies at the local level. So I think EU Horizon support is really quite innovative, and it's good that you're really creating space for us. Of course, there is a challenge, especially for us as stakeholders in the country, especially the academia. We just got a wider base or a strong base in terms of producing scientists, especially the PhD students, the master students, to shape the methodology, but also reach the wider communities. And my request is really to advance that collaborative, integrated approach, and Africa Research and Impact Network is really consolidating research and also but bringing with a policy. So advancing especially targeted research funding through different projects to facilitate co-production and especially capturing the aspirations and the knowledge and the intention or the innovation and technologies which have been shaped by communities over years across Africa is very important. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Antonio and Piero. Mine is just to thank the EU team for a very, very informative session. For the Kenyan participants, just also to inform you that the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Education, and our peers was here, Dr. Beatrice, are very keen on this project, are very keen on enhancing the chances of Kenyan teams to be successful. And for that reason, as we said, they have established a committee to engage directly with the EU, to help advise and so forth. The national contact point, Mr. Jacob Njagi, who is also here, is part of that team. So let's take advantage to get as much information, to have the best teams, so that we focus on the thematic areas of EU, but also to take note of national priorities, which are very important. As I said, there's a lot of concurrence, a lot of similarities between our national priorities and the EU priorities. And I think we can form great teams which impact. So we would want to mostly to get research which is able to go up to the tail end, where there's a product, innovative product or innovative service. Otherwise, thank you very much, EU team and the participants.
Thanks to you. We have, please, Johannes.
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to add into what my colleague Oyawa has mentioned, that I think we need to continue with this conversation is very important, so that we're able to, sustainably learn through and underline priorities. Number two is that, it would be good to start thinking about how to really engage the policymakers and government much more, explicitly within the EU Horizon calls, because a number of times I know it is researchers who lead these particular programs, but at the end of the day, we expect that this research is able to produce some impact. And, it's now going beyond the traditional kind of policy dialogues where, a researcher will do research, then, assemble a number of policymakers and present very technical findings, which sometimes don't get anywhere in terms of impact. So it would be good to see the possibilities of really bringing some of these policymakers who are really very good with the technical thinking to be part of the research teams and to support the direct linkages in terms of the impact of the work that the EU Horizon is supporting. Otherwise, let me also add that we are really grateful as researchers for the support that the EU Horizon continue to give us, and we look forward to continued engagement. Thanks, Asante.
Okay, thanks to you all. We already passed, well, here in Addis Ababa is 1:30, so that's a time to finalize our meeting. I would like to, first of all, to thank my colleagues of the EU delegation to Kenya for their availability, their strong work. So thanks to Kizito, Robert, and Beatrix, led obviously by our ambassador, Henrietta Geiger. I would like to thank all of you for this participation. We're not expecting so many people. We were also close to 800 people in certain moment of the event. So this shows the interest of the Kenyan scientific community toward our program. And well, many of you, as we have seen, are already deeply involved, but we want to have more other people. We want a strong participation, young scientists, ladies, please get involved, make a try. And what I want to say, if the first time you don't succeed, don't give up, because you learn to draft proposals, you learn to go ahead, and finally, I'm sure you will be successful. Okay, so I wish you all the best to all of you. Thank you for the participation. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.